Okay, we are live before a great weekend, and I had an idea. I was thinking back to advice that I was given a long time ago when I started working through the development of social selling. And it actually began with a story around marketing automation and the usage and adoption curve. And here's kind of the story of marketing automation. So marketing automation platforms got started in the early 2000s, as an example. By the time the story was told to me 15 years later, something like less than 5% of B2B organizations were actively using the tools you know today, Eloqua, Marketo, uh, and there was a host of other marketing automation platforms at that time that just never, or they kind of fizzled through the journey. So the long and the short is everybody like panicked. I had to have it. I had to master it. But like the steadfast founders and the steadfast CMOs recognized a saying that I'm going to say now: process over platform. And I took that with me into my social selling days. So 2012, we start pioneering social selling. And I would go through my own panics. It'd be 2014, 2015, and I'd ask myself, is this the year that like social selling, everybody just wakes up and they understand it? And there's no need for a coaching and a training business. Or, is everybody just going to master it overnight? And there'll be nothing left to learn. And I remember, again, there's the steadfast founders and CMOs or CROs that recognize it wasn't about the buttons that you pushed in LinkedIn or the way that you use LinkedIn Navigator that mattered as much as the strategy behind what you were doing, the process to why you were doing it, what we were trying to do as an organization, and then just the act of using LinkedIn Navigator was, the driving of the car, but you were actually trying to get to a destination. And over time, technology even allowed others to be other people on LinkedIn or create workflow automation to speed up LinkedIn development or list building or job changes and signals. I'm seeing the same here now in AI. I own a company that has 50 employees by the time, mid-April, as an example. And we are now in dozens and dozens and dozens of companies around North America. And AI is a critical piece. And I'm going to visualize examples of the importance of process over platform. Let me actually do that now. I'm going to share my screen. And I, as an example, we're using this right now. I was kind of playing around. I was on a collective 54 meeting. So this is with all kinds of founders of professional services firms. And I was playing around with these details. Like we were talking about images inside AI. And it where I would use something like this, and you can see I'm using it to model financial ideas around compounded growth or I'm starting to break down Form 10Ks to get better insights on prospects. But what you could see here is the AI model couldn't spell Bangladesh, couldn't properly write get leverage. My organization is in Bangladesh, but it started adding people that weren't from Bangladesh, as an example, couldn't write certain details here. I asked it to switch from alcohol to coffee. And what it did is it gave everybody coffee. And, it started to make sure everybody had a coffee and an espresso. So, long and the short is this from a process standpoint, uh, I could use this to guide inspiration around compounded value calculators of where we're trying to fly the plane. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is I'm now going to talk to you about real use cases where I'm using this right now. I've put it in place for our HR team to start mastering AI in the following components. We hire 10 to 20 people a month, as an example. And every application for a role has 100 to 150 applicants. And as we get bigger, we're going to go into hundreds of employees. And so our HR team, the amount, and it corresponds in connection to sales. So what's going to happen is we'll have thousands upon thousands of resumes, and it'll be eye-watering to try to get through them. So I'm going to talk through some of the levels to which AI could be used. And this was inspired from Collective 54, and where we're actually in Q2, we're going to go from level zero. First is map, what does ideal look like? So take a role, let's take a video editor, and we're going to map exactly what their CVs looked like when as their successful video editors. We have six. Okay, great. So we have a baseline. That is years of experience, certain schools they went to, certain keywords and skills, how long they stayed in certain jobs, what have you. Level two, we're going to create a model. That model will be, imagine you have 150 resumes. Can't read them all. So we need AI to be able to do a pass or a fail. It's basically put cohort analysis, segment which ones should we be reviewing and which ones should we hold onto, but don't do anything yet. Step number three, level three, is start breaking down all those components into scoring mechanisms. So scoring mechanisms around education, time and role, certain softwares they've used, portfolio analysis, what have you. Okay. And what it can do is then take that score, put it into easy jobs, which is think of it as our CRM for talent to acquisition, and store all that. And we could pull down and pull people by score. It's think of it as like NPS or CSAT scores on every component within the resume. And we can quickly filter. This is where it gets interesting. Level four. Level four is we create what does ideal look like? We have an archetype to the perfect video editor. Now, what we can do is ask it to do deep research through people's social media, their companies they worked for, look at their portfolio, send them a Myers-Briggs or a DISC analysis, plus their CV, plus anything we find about them on the social web, like charitable giving, volunteering, all this stuff. And it analyzes it all to determine does the archetype of the person that is applying further down the funnel. Maybe we'll use this for the last 5 or 10 people that we're interviewing. Which candidate should we choose? They'll have the highest probability of being successful in role, reducing the voluntary and non-voluntary churn. Level five. Level five is where we're going to get to, is going from an inbound to an outbound strategy. Now, what we're starting to look at then is okay, I want you to use all inputs that are available to you, social media, including LinkedIn, volunteering, where they've worked, portfolio analysis, all these dimensions. And I want you to target the resumes or the LinkedIn profiles that we should be calling on outbound to ask them to join our company because we need more video editors. Now, that is a process. So, what does that take? That takes myself as a founder, quiet time. I call it mind versus grind time. If you ever follow any of the stuff that I put out, you'll probably notice that on Fridays, I use Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for intellectual curiosity. I make a weekly newsletter that I write to our investors. It's cathartic and it lets me open up my mind to new ideas. These are the kind of things that is a process map that I start drawing out. I take inspiration from here and there and everywhere. Now, the team masters the platforms. I don't have to squirrel around in OpenAI. We love Gemini, by the way, because we're a Google shop. Gemini and deep research, and I, I can't even keep up with all the names and the tools and the platforms, but I don't have to. You, as the founder, you, as the CEO, you, as an executive, your job is to understand the process. Where are we flying the plane? Let the teammates master the widgets and the boobobs. Let them become masters of using the platforms to get you answers. That's the important piece. So in the advent of AI, like uh, my job is to have intellectual curiosity, cognitive relaxation, so I can come up with these ideas. Do not spend 8 hours a day trying to master every button and prompt and There will always be teammates who will be better at that than you. Your job is to find that talent and then have the vision of where you're going to fly the plane so that they can build that for you. So